Hello everyone, I hope you're all well. Well, it's Friday evening, and what do you do when your husband's watching the Formula One? Well, I pop along and do a snippet. So welcome to the next snippet. This is snippet 50. Wow, 50 snippets. If you're looking for any of the snippets, they're all on YouTube. So if you want them all in one place, they're all there for you. And they're also listed in my group. So I'm using a piece of Pink Frog smooth card, 300 GSM, and it's 4 inches by 6 inches. The snippets are always the same size, and these are snippets of ideas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin with my A6 stamp. It's ASA Officer 1007. And I'm going to ink some of the stamp, and I'm going to use my Twisted Citron. So I'm going to use a little bit of the Twisted Citron, just sort of randomly in the middle. You're not being precise. So Twisted Citron will add touches of peacock feathers. So don't cover all your Twisted Citron up. And then I'm going to use touches of the mowed lawn. Again, don't cover up all the previous colours. And what I'm going to do is just bend the stamp a little bit. So bend it upwards like this. And then I'm just going to press like so the stamp randomly. You don't want anything too precise. You just want a nice random touch of colour. That is perfect. And what I want to show you is just with that and a little sentiment like this, just with that, explore nature. You could send a little notelet to somebody just to say that you're thinking of them. But just a beautiful a beautiful background already. I've not spritzed that with water at all. I've just left it as it is. So I'm just going to give that a little dry. Just because the ink is a little wet on the surface. So just before I do anything else, I just want to give it a little waft. Nothing too much, and you could quite easily just blot that a little bit, just so that it's not too wet. And then I'm going to take my stamp set 30 days. Stamp set 922. So 30 days. And what I'm going to do is take my black ink and just add a little bit of stamping just on the top. So this will come into the foreground, and I'm not adding, I don't know what's going to show, but I'm not adding much at the moment. So just a little touch of stamping, and that pushes the green back down into the background. So then we need a scrap of card, and then I'm going to use stamp set turnover, stamp set 1005 from my autumn October release. Right, I'm then going to take the same colours, so Twisted Citron. So take the Twisted Citron. You're not thinking about it too much. I'm then going to use the peacock feathers. So take the peacock feathers. Don't be too regimented with it. And then I'm going to take the mowed lawn. Now, if you haven't got enough of the blue on, just go back and add a little bit more of the peacock feathers. Now, what I want you to do is stamp this into the middle of a piece of card, just so that you've got the white card either side of the image, just so that you've got that. Again, if you wanted a quick little notelet, you could just add explore nature, and you've got a little notelet there. Now, what I want you to do is cut the inner out so that it's like this, so that you've got the aperture. And then you end up with the little leaf cut out, and you can just use a craft knife to cut that out so that you've got the aperture. But before you cut that out, no, you cut out first. So cut out the inner bit first, because it's easier. Cut out the inner bit, and then when you've cut out that centre bit, take a ruler, and this is why you stamped it in the middle of the piece of card, because it's easier to tear around using your ruler if you've got some space either around the image. If you make it so there's not much card around the image, it makes it harder to tear. So I'm just going to tear that, and because I've got plenty of card, I can grab hold of the card really easily, like so, and I can just tear that. And it's a lot more random than trying to do it with your freehand with your fingers, because then it looks like a sort of a mouse is nibbled at it. There we go. And then you've got a torn edge. So you can't add dimension with the snippets, because the dimension with the snippets, so if I did a card, I would add dimension and perhaps add one on top of the other, but I'm not doing that this time. What I want you to do is do exactly as I've done, but you've got the aperture cut out like so. You're then going to place the aperture just over the top. So let's just add a little bit more of those leaves. There might be still a bit of ink on here. So let's see if there's a little, because it doesn't dry too quickly. Yes, it's still dry. So let's take a little bit more of that. Just add the peacock feathers. So you've got the twisted citron, the peacock feathers, and the mowed lawn. So just add a little bit more of those leaves just here on the outside edge as well, just so that you can see some of that snippet on the outside. You can see some of those leaves on the outside. So just randomly adding a little bit of stamping. But the reason I stamped all in the centre is so I wanted to show you how you can just leave it like that if you wish. So I'm then going to add this here like so. So I'm going to add, and then just peering through, you can see the leaves and the text underneath. So just take. Now, normally, if I was creating a card, I'd have dimension to this like so. With your snippets, you don't really want that. You don't really want the dimension with your snippets. You've then got your leaf that you've cut out. But what I've done then, just to add a little bit of a lift, is I've taken my Autumn Fall stencil 177 and I've used this leaf here, and I've sponged Nocturne ink through the stencil onto white card. So just this element here, just on the end, I've just sponged through with Nocturne ink, because that will give me some contrast to the background. So I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive, and I'm not going to stick that all down, just so that it gives me a little bit of a contrast. I'll then stick this leaf that we cut out on the top. So we'll just stick that leaf on the top. And the black just gives a contrast to the background. And this brings the colour from the background in to the foreground. And then using stamp set 1004, which is Leafle, I'm using the sentiment from there, which is explore nature. So I'm just going to add a little bit just down there, like so. So we'll just add explore nature. And I'm just sticking it at the one end, just so that little bit is loose and looks a little bit more dimensional. I'll then, she says, because I haven't grabbed this stamp set because I've got so much on my desk. Let's grab. We'll then grab the Scarecrow stamp set. We'll take the Scarecrow stamp set and we'll take the little bird that's on there. I'll leave those numbers on there. Sometimes if you're using a little stamp on an acrylic block, if you leave another stamp at the top of the acrylic block, it just gives you balance and the acrylic block won't rock. So it stops any rocking for you, because sometimes if you've got a small stamp, it rocks. So then I'm just going to cut our little bird out, and I'm going to just leave a narrow border, just so you can see that. I just leave a little white border because it just gives me a little bit of contrast again. Now these snippets are just 15 minutes long, if not less, depending if I have to explain anything but they are snippets of ideas. So I'm just going to add our little bird there. There we go. And I'm then just going to take my Posca pen and just add some splatters. And that is snippet 50, just so that you can see there's some leaves on there. You can see the text through the leaf. I'm just loving these leaves. Now, before I disappear, I was asked by the lovely Terry if I could show how I added the numbers to the side. So this is for Terry. I add them like this, Terry. And then when I add them, because this is snippet 49, and when I add them to my journal, it looks like this. So Terry wanted to see how I fitted them in here, because it's sort of, there's not much room. And you can see there's just a fine gap there, Terry. I'd almost go right to the end. I'd just about fit it in. And this fits in beautifully before you get to the edge of the book. And Terry wanted to see how full my journal is. So let me see if I can show that. This is my journal, Terry. And it doesn't close. It is full. It is rammed full, as you can see. So when I add snippet 49, I add it so it just fits in like so. It just fits in into the book. And Terry just asked if I would kindly show that. So that's my pleasure to show that. So I'll just show that one more time, just so that Terry can take a screenshot, just so she can see how I've layered my numbers up. This is snippet 50, but don't forget, if you've got another piece of 4x6" card, you've still got ink on this stamp set. So just give that stamp a little spritz. So give it a little spritz, like so. Just give that a little spritz. Like so. And then you've got another beautiful background. And if you wanted to add another one of these, you could add this just here with a sentiment. And also just remember, so that's your second generation print, but that leaf is just fantastic. You could then, if you've still got ink on your leaf, you can spritz a couple of times with water and create a second generation print that's just as beautiful as the first generation print. So I hope you've enjoyed snippet number 50. Love to all, happy weekend, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.